All right, you guys, we'll be started in just a second. I'm going to wait for a couple more people to get into the room, and I'm just wrapping up a couple of things. So I'll be right here with you guys. We're going to go over some really cool stuff. I've got some pretty cool, amazing things coming. All right, everybody, welcome to another podcast today. I'm going to move a couple of things around. I got to just move some windows, and because I had a screen that I was going to show you guys, and I can't really show you what I was going to show you because I couldn't figure it out. That's the honest to God question. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. Anyway, okay, so today we're going to talk about some pretty cool stuff, but I need to get it moved over to where I can see it, and then you guys can, okay. You know, I don't like Bill Gates, man. I don't like him for what he does in any realm, but I certainly don't like his windows. Not that. Wait a second. I just got to make sure I'm on the right one. I've got like 3. All right, that's not that. Okay, so this has got to go here. We'll just put this away. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for. And it's pretty long, guys, this excerpt that I'm going to give you today. So today we're going to talk about the Grand Theater of Equity. And we're going to talk about some things, basically what the title was, but I'm going to talk to you guys about some things that are pretty interesting. And then I'm going to give you guys, I did a little bit of a spin on today's podcast. So I'm going to give you guys, for those of you that are with me on, when it comes to Pixar films and all the child cartoons that my kid, he's 17 now, but he was like raised with. So all those things that I got to watch, I kind of implemented into equity jurisprudence. So we'll see how this works out. You guys tell me if you like it. Equity jurisprudence is like the drama department of the legal world. It steps in when the rigid, inflexible law starts acting like a stubborn prima donna. Picture this. Lady Justice is about to hand down a verdict, but her blindfold slips. She realizes she's about to commit a grave injustice. Inner equity, stage left with a flourish, ready to save the day. It's the deus ex machina of our legal pantheon, ensuring fairness and justice where the common law fails. It's the Robin Hood of legal doctrines, stealing from the rich rigidity of common law to give to the poor cases yearning for fairness. Consider the ancient legal maxims. Equity delights in equality. Imagine, if you will, a scenario where 2 knights, Sir Bountiful and Sir Pennypincher, are disputing the division of a treasure chest. Common law might simply split the treasure down the middle, regardless of who contributed what. But equity, with its keen sense of fairness, would consider the efforts and contributions of each knight, ensuring that Sir Bountiful doesn't get the same share that Sir Pennypincher, who only showed up for the photo op. Now, picture this in a modern context. Imagine Woody and Buzz Lightyear from Pixar's Toy Story trying to split a reward for saving Andy's room. Woody, having done all the planning, would feel rather cheated if Buzz, who mostly did the falling with style, got an equal share. Equity would step in and ensure that Woody gets a fair reward for his efforts, while Buzz still gets his due credit for being a charming space ranger. Lord Eldon, a notable figure in the history of equity, once quipped, "Equity is not a body of jurisprudence acting contrary to the law, but rather acting in conjunction with it, moderating the extremities of the law." Picture this. In terms of a medieval banquet, common law might be the heavy roast beef, while equity's the fine wine that makes the meal not just palatable, but truly enjoyable. Now let's add a bit of flair. Consider the maxim, equity will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy. Imagine Cinderella, wronged with her stepsisters and stepmother, finding solace not just in a fairy godmother, but in the arms of equity, which would undoubtedly step in to rectify her unjust treatment. Instead of a magic slipper, she'd have the formidable force of fairness ensuring her happy ending. The great Lord Chancellor Sir Thomas More, often viewed as a patron saint of lawyers, might have said in his less virtuous counterparts, "Come, let us reason together." He would have appreciated equity's role in balancing the scales of justice, just as he had balanced its lofty ideals with the sometimes grim reality of political life. Now let's dive into the enchanted forest of trusts. Imagine, if you will, a wealthy knight named Sir Reginald who, upon feeling the cold hand of mortality upon his shoulder, wishes to leave his vast estate not to his ne'er-do-well son, but to his devoted squire, who always ensured his armor was polished to a shine. Sir Reginald, however, doesn't trust his son not to lay claim to the estate once he's departed this mortal coil. What to do? Enter the trust. The medieval contraption as intricate as a dragon's lair. Sir Reginald can establish a trust, appointing a trustee to manage the estate for the benefit of his squire. This magical device ensures his wishes are carried out beyond the grave, thwarting his son's greedy plans. Equity steps in to enforce this trust, ensuring the squire isn't left polishing armor for ghosts. Trusts are the ultimate chess game where one must think several moves ahead, anticipating every possible challenge. They require foresight, cunning, and occasionally a good solicitor, or even just a person with a brain who knows a bit of magic. Indeed, trusts are so effective that they've been used to protect assets from marauding in-laws, avoid taxes, legally, of course, and even to ensure one's beloved pet cat or dog is fed gourmet tuna posthumously. Speaking of foresight, consider the words of Sir Francis Bacon. Knowledge is power. Trusts, in their essence, are a testament to this wisdom. They embody the foresight and knowledge of their creators. They allow individuals to extend their influence beyond their lifetimes. Just as the wise ruler would plan for the future of their kingdom, so too does a trust ensure the continued welfare of its beneficiaries. Speaking of foresight, consider the words of Sir Francis Bacon. Knowledge is power. Trusts, in their essence, are a testament to this wisdom. They embody the foresight and knowledge of their creators, allowing individuals to extend their influence beyond their lifetime. Just as a wise ruler would plan for the future of their kingdom, so too does a trust ensure the continued welfare of its beneficiaries. Now, let's get a bit whimsical. Imagine Carl Fredricksen from Pixar's Up setting up a trust for Russell, the enthusiastic young wilderness explorer. Carl's house floating on a bunch of balloons is symbolic of the trust, ensuring Russell's future is secure and adventurous, even if Carl is off on his own adventures in the sky. Equity ensures that Carl's wishes are carried out and Russell isn't left tethered to the ground by bureaucratic red tape. Historical figures also had their quirks with trust. William Shakespeare, for instance, famously left his second best bed to his wife in his will, a bequest that has puzzled scholars for centuries. Only one can imagine the debates equity judges would have had over interpreting the bard's true intentions. Perhaps they would have concluded, "The lady doth protest too much, methinks, and ensured fair treatment for all parties involved." Contracts, on the other hand, are the binding oaths of our commercial world. Picture this. Two medieval merchants meet in a dimly lit tavern, one a purveyor of fine silks and the other a seller of exotic spices. Over goblets of mead, they strike a deal. but how to ensure that both parties uphold their end of the bargain once the mead-induced haze wears off. Enter the contract, our noble knight in parchment armor. A contract ensures that the silk merchant delivers his goods and spice seller parts with his aromatic treasures. It's a dance of promises and obligations, choreographed with the precision of a courtly waltz. Each clause, each stipulation is a step in this intricate ballet. But beware, for contracts can be as tricky as a court jester's riddles. One misplaced comma, one ambiguous term, and you might find yourself in a legal quagmire akin to the bogs of medieval England. Remember the case of Farmer Jones and the infamous delivery of 12 dozen chickens? What was meant to be 144 fine fowl turned into a lawsuit over 12 dozen eggs, and you can bet those were some very scrambled proceedings. As Lord Mansfield famously noted, the law of contracts is a branch of the law of equity, and equity enforces contracts when conscience and good faith demand it. This wisdom rings true even in the most mundane transactions, reminding us that the heart of any agreement lies in the integrity and intent of the parties involved. For a modern twist, think of a contract between Lightning McQueen and Radiator Springs in Pixar's Cars. Lightning agrees to pave the town's road in exchange for getting back on the racing circuit. But imagine if the contract was vague, Lightning to fix some stuff around town. The potential for disputes can be as high as Lightning's top speed. Equity ensures that the contracts are clear and enforceable, ensuring everyone knows they have to do more than just spin their wheels. Consider the historical figure of Thomas Hobbes, who once described life in the state of nature as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Without the binding of contracts, our commercial interactions might devolve into Hobbesian chaos. Contracts are the leviathan of commerce, keeping our dealings civil and orderly. Now, what happens when a contract is unfair? It makes you want to toss your quill in disgust? Fear not, for equity is here to rescue us once more. Equity's role in contract law is akin to that of a wise, benevolent monarch, stepping in to right the wrongs where the law is too blind or too rigid. Take, for instance, the case of our friend Farmer Jones, who in a moment of desperation signed a contract agreeing to sell his farm for a pittance. When the buyer came to collect, equity stepped in, much like a vigilant knight, to declare the contract unconscionable and thus unenforceable. Equity ensures that contracts aren't just legally binding, but also morally fair. It's the legal world's way of saying, hey, play nice. Lord Nottingham, often referred to as the father of equity, remarked, equity suffers not a right to be without a remedy. This principle underpins equity's intervention in contract law, ensuring that justice is not just theoretical concept, but a practical reality. Just as a good king is not allowed to allow his subjects to be wronged, equity ensures that fairness prevails in all dealings. Imagine if Sully and Mike from Monsters Incorporated had signed a contract with Waternoose that they didn't fully understand, resulting in unfair working conditions. Equity would step in, ensuring that they aren't bound by a deal that takes advantage of them. Because after all, if they're going to be scaring children, or in this new age, making them laugh, they deserve fair treatment and proper compensation. Equity would protect our monster friends from the clutches of the bad contract, ensuring the workplace stays fun and safe. Equity has often been seen as the law's safety net. Imagine a tightrope walker balancing precariously with nothing but a pole for stability. Common law is the rope, strong but unforgiving if you slip. Equity is the net below, ready to catch you when the inevitable misstep occurs. It ensures that our legal system remains just and humane. And now we move on to clean hands again. The clean hands doctrine seems to come up quite frequently as people go through the process of cleansing, okay? Because cleansing those hands requires sometimes Well, sometimes it requires dishonor to get past that. And we all go through it. So, moving forward, we just try to make better decisions, try to be honorable, try to follow when we say something, make sure that our actions follow what our words just stated. You can't be hypocritical in equity when you're seeking remedy if you look like you're all over the place. Okay. And that's quite honestly, that's what most people look like. You guys if you just stay at this, you will get it. Okay. I remember when I look at people not understanding it now, and I can remember when I was there, and I remember not understanding it. And it's not anything that I can give you and say, okay, well, here's this, you take this, and then you'll understand it. It is understanding or taking what you comprehend as reality right now and then processing it as not real. That's not real. This is real. And then when you replace that, then you start to see the way that I'm telling you about. It's not just something that you just have, but you have to stay in it. You have to listen. This is something that is real, but it's really something that they don't want you to know is real. Because if you figure out this is your authority. This is where your control comes from. And anyone that wants to have it, it's not for everyone. It isn't for everyone. Not everyone will find solace in what I'm teaching. It is going to be for those who, well, when you feel this is like something's not right, then you go and you seek these things. And this is what we get here. Because that's really what this is. This is nothing more than righteousness that's been hidden from us so that we don't know what the remedy is. And if you don't know the remedy, then, well, what are you going to do? I mean, how do you get out of anything if you don't know what the remedy is, right? Okay, so let me go back. Okay, so on the clean hands doctrine, not a soap commercial, but a principle of equity as old as dirt. This doctrine posits that if you come to equity seeking relief, you'd better have been on your best behavior. Imagine a knight who, after a fierce battle, demands a boon from the king, only to be told, wash up first. Equity demands that those seeking its aid must themselves be free from wrongdoing. Take Sir Dodgy, a merchant who, while seeking to enforce a contract, is found to have swindled his business partner. Sir Dodgy's claim would be tossed out faster than a hot potato in a medieval banquet. The doctrine of clean hands ensures that equity aids the just, not just the plain dodgy. The words of Lord Hatherley echo here. He who seeks equity must do equity. This principle is a stark reminder that one cannot expect to benefit from the courts of equity if one's own conduct is tainted. It's like expecting to win a jousting tournament while riding a lame horse. It simply won't happen. For a modern example, consider the antics of Gru from Despicable Me. Suppose Gru, after a particularly nefarious scheme, seeks to enforce a contract with Vector. Equity would chuckle and say, "Not so fast, Gru. You need to clean up your act before we'll help you." Gru would need to show he's on the straight and narrow, perhaps by focusing more on adopting adorable orphans than stealing the moon. Historical figures like Niccolo Machiavelli, who famously asserted that the ends justify the means, might have a hard time in equitable court. Equity would counter, "Not so fast, Machiavelli. Clean up your act first, then we'll talk about those ends." One of equity's mightiest weapons is the remedy of specific performance. Imagine, if you will, a knight who has promised his beloved a rare, precious jewel. Upon failing to deliver, his beloved demands not gold or silver, but the very jewel itself. Specific performance, dear graduates, is equity's way of ensuring that promises are kept to the letter. Consider the case of Lady Gwendolen, who is promised a rare white stallion by Sir Lancelot. When Sir Lancelot tried to fob her off with a common mule, a jackass, equity decreed he must deliver the white stallion, come what may. It's the legal equivalent of a knight's quest, ensuring that contractual obligations are met in the precise manner agreed upon. Now, ladies, don't you get too greedy in enforcing equity with your horses and your stallions and your knights. As the Lord Selborne noted, equity regards as done that which ought to be done. This axiom underlies the principle of specific performance, ensuring that parties fulfill their precise commitments. It's not just about compensating for a loss, but ensuring the exact promise is honored, maintaining the sanctity of agreements. Now imagine Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles promising his friend Frozone a state-of-the-art ice suit. When Mr. Incredible delivers a mere tracksuit, equity steps in and says, "No, no, Mr. Incredible, your friend needs a suit that matches his super abilities," thus ensuring that Frozone isn't left shivering in an inadequate outfit. In history, we see this principle in the Magna Carta of 1215, where King John of England was compelled to fulfill specific commitments to his barons. This seminal document laid the groundwork for modern constitutional law, embodying the spirit of specific performance by holding even kings accountable for their promises. Injunctions are the legal dragon slayers. Injunctions are equity's way of shouting, "Halt! Who goes there?" Here are the legal dragon slayers, preventing harm before it can occur. Imagine a villainous baron trying to build a castle that blocks the villagers' only source of water. An injunction would be equity's swift sword, stopping construction in its tracks. Take the case of the village of Little Snoring, where an unscrupulous developer sought to erect a tower that would plunge the entire village into shadow. Equity, in its wisdom, issued an injunction preserving the village's sunlight and thwarting the developer's nefarious plan. Injunctions are equity's preemptive strikes, ensuring justice is served before injustice can take root. The wise Lord MacNaughton once remarked, "Injunctions are a command to refrain from doing something unjust, akin to a shield protecting the innocent." This principle is embodied in every injunction, ensuring that wrongs are stopped in their tracks and justice prevails. Imagine in the land of Frozen if Prince Hans, in his quest for power, began constructing a dam that would flood Arendelle. An injunction from Elsa, Queen of Equity, also of ice, would halt his plans, ensuring that the kingdom remains safe and sound from his conniving schemes. Historically, injunctions have been used to preserve the status quo, preventing irreparable harm. Think of them as the legal equivalent of pressing the pause button on a chaotic situation. They ensure that while the courts deliberate, no one runs off with the crown jewels. Returning to trust, let us delve deeper into the role of the trustee, the appointed guardian of a trust. A trustee must be as loyal as a knight to his king, managing the trust assets with unwavering fidelity. They must act in the best interests of the beneficiaries, avoiding conflicts, interests like the plague, literally in medieval terms. Consider Sir Trustworthy appointed to manage an estate for young Lord Timid. Sir Trustworthy must balance the estate's needs, ensuring that funds are allocated wisely and that young Lord Timid's inheritance isn't squandered on frivolities like jousting tournaments and minstrel shows. Trusteeship requires a keen mind, a strong sense of duty, and occasionally the patience of a saint. Lord Hardwicke, a pioneer in equity jurisprudence, emphasized, "A trustee is the guardian of the beneficiary's rights, bound by duty and honor." This statement encapsulates the essence of trusteeship, highlighting the noble responsibility entrusted to these guardians. Now consider the role of Alfred, Bruce Wayne's trusty butler in Batman. Alfred is essentially the trustee of Wayne Enterprises, ensuring that Bruce's estate is managed properly while Bruce is off gallivanting in his Batmobile. Alfred's duty is to maintain the balance between Bruce's nocturnal adventures and the financial health of the Wayne legacy. Imagine if Alfred decided to start using Wayne Enterprises funds for personal luxury yachts instead of supporting Batman's crime-fighting endeavors. Equity would step in faster than Batman swooping down from a gargoyle, ensuring Alfred sticks to his fiduciary duties. The beneficiary of a trust is kin to a fair damsel in need of protection. Equity ensures that the beneficiary's interests are safeguarded, much like a knight protects his lady's honor. The beneficiary can call upon equity to hold the trustee accountable, ensuring that the trust is administered justly. Imagine Lady Fairchild, the beneficiary. She had a vast estate managed by a trustee with a penchant for gambling. Lady Fairchild can seek equity's aid, demanding an accounting and the removal of the rogue trustee if necessary. Equity's role is to ensure that the beneficiary is not left at the mercy of an unscrupulous trustee, providing a safety net of justice and fairness. Lord Eldon's words resonate here. Equity will not suffer a wrong without a remedy. This principle ensures beneficiaries are protected and their interests upheld, embodying the very essence of equity's protective nature. In the whimsical world of Harry Potter, consider Harry as the beneficiary of his parents' estate, with Professor Dumbledore as the sort of trustee. Dumbledore's role is ensure that Harry's inheritance is protected until he is ready to handle it himself, ensuring that Harry is not left vulnerable to the likes of the Dursleys' financial mismanagement. Historical examples also abound. Consider the children of Edward IV of England, placed in the care of their uncle Richard III. The boys known as the princes in the Tower were supposed to be protected, but met a grim fate instead. A vigilant court of equity might have intervened to safeguard their rights and ensure their proper guardianship. Let us not forget charitable trusts, those noble institutions that serve the greater good. Charitable trusts are knights of altruism, dedicated to causes such as education, poverty, relief, and health care. They are created within the intent to benefit the public, and equity ensures they remain true to their noble purpose. Consider the case of the Royal Hospital Trust, established to provide care for wounded knights. If the trustees start diverting funds to build a luxury inn for themselves, equity sleeps in to rectify the mismanagement. Steps in, not sleeps in. Steps in to rectify the mismanagement, ensuring that the trust's original charitable intent is upheld. Charitable trusts are equity's way of ensuring that wealth is used for the greater good, shining a beacon of hope in a sometimes dark and dreary world. We have to pay attention because quite frequently this can be the case, and then we end up thinking that a charitable trust is really for a good cause when, well, let's just say the many churches are charitable trusts, but many of them are not conforming the way that they did originally when they started. Okay. The words of Lord Cairns are apt. Charitable trusts are the embodiment of equity's highest ideals, serving the public good with unwavering dedication. This sentiment reflects the lofty purpose and noble responsibility associated with charitable trusts. They ensure they remain true to their altruistic mission. Now imagine Toy Story Gang establishing a charitable trust to ensure that every toy gets a child to play with. Wood, Buzz, and Jessie would all act as trustees, making sure the toys are distributed fairly and lovingly. If they started hoarding the toys for themselves, equity would step in, ensuring every toy finds a happy home. Historically, charitable trusts have funded some of the most significant educational and medical advancements. The Rhodes Scholarship, established by Cecil Rhodes, had provided countless students the opportunity to study at Oxford University, embodying the spirit of equity and charitable giving. A cornerstone of equity is the maxim, equity looks to the intent rather than the form. This principle ensures that justice is served based on the substance of an agreement rather than its technicalities. Imagine a knight who, in his haste, scribbles a poorly worded contract promising his serf freedom. Equity would look beyond the messy handwriting to the knight's true intent, granting the serf his freedom. Take the case of Sir Scribbles, who drafted a will leaving the estate to, quote, his favored cat Tom. Equity recognized the intent, ensuring Tom was taken care of despite the poor grammar and spelling errors. The maxim ensures that the spirit of justice prevails over the letter of the law, much like a wise king who values wisdom over strict adherence to rules. Like Lord Reasondale, his observation was equity follows the law, but will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy. He captures the essence perfectly. It underscores the importance of substance over form, ensuring that justice is not hindered by technicalities. For a more playful take, think of Marlin from Finding Nemo drafting a contract with Dory to ensure she doesn't forget to find Nemo. Even if Marlin's fishy handwriting was unclear, equity would look to the intent, ensuring that Dory, with her forgetful nature, still uphold her end of the agreement. Historically, consider the last will and testament of Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, who left his fortune to establish the Nobel Prizes. Despite various legal challenges, equity ensured that Nobel's intent to reward those who confer the greatest benefit to humankind was honored, leading to one of the world's most prestigious awards. Mortgages are the financial jousts of the legal world, where lenders and borrowers face off in a battle of wits and wills. Equity, ever the fair referee, steps in to ensure that the joust is conducted fairly. Mortgages were historically harsh, often leading to the borrower's ruin. Equity introduced the concept of redemption, allowing borrowers a fair chance to reclaim their property upon repayment. Imagine Lord Borrower, who mortgaged his estate to fund a grand expedition, upon his return to find himself unable to repay on time. Equity grants him the right to redeem his estate, preventing the lender from seizing it outright. This concept of equity of redemption ensures that financial jousts don't just end in the borrower's complete defeat. The wise words of Sir Edward Coke resonate here. Equity sees that as done which ought to be done. This principle underpins the concept of redemption, ensuring that fairness and justice prevail in financial dealings. Consider Carl from Up taking a mortgage on his house to find his journey to Paradise Falls. If Carl were late on his payments, equity would step in, allowing him to redeem his beloved home, ensuring he doesn't lose everything to a heartless bank. After all, it's hard to attach balloons to a foreclosure notice. In history, we see examples of mortgages leading to the dire consequences. The land enclosures of 18th century England often left tenant farmers in ruin where they couldn't meet the harsh terms set by landowners. Equity's intervention could have provided those farmers with a lifeline, much like a hero rescuing them from financial abyss. Fraud is the dark art of legal practice where deceit and trickery threaten to undermine justice. Equity's role is akin to that of a vigilant knight, ready to expose and rectify fraudulent deeds. When fraud rears its ugly head, equity steps in to annul the fraudulent transaction, restoring justice to its rightful place. Consider the case of Sir Deceptive, who tricked Lady Gullible into signing over her estate. Equity, upon discovering the fraud, would restore Lady Gullible's estate to punish Sir Deceptive for his treachery. Equity's intervention ensures that the dark arts of fraud are thwarted, upholding the principles of honesty and integrity. Yes, folks, it does still exist. As Lord Manfield aptly stated, fraud unravels everything. This powerful statement underscores equity's relentless pursuit of justice, ensuring that fraudulent actions do not prevail. Now, one of the things that people don't really understand is fraudulent transactions will never prevail. Honesty and integrity always prevail, but you have to have clean hands to go in with this. And clean hands, I know you guys are thinking, well, I've been honest, I've made my payments. Okay, that is not clean. That's clean hands to you according to what you understand. But clean hands, really clean, having clean hands in equity means you've paid the debt off or you've given notice to pay the debt off, which we talk about is being tender. And so there is a comprehensive record that all goes with that to make that as a statement that stands, okay? Fraud unveils everything, okay? Imagine if Syndrome from The Incredibles tricked Mr. Incredible into signing his supersuit technology, signing it over. Equity would swoop in like Elastigirl, stretching the boundaries of justice to restore what's rightfully Mr. Incredible's and unravel Syndrome's fraudulent schemes. Historically, fraud has been the scourge of commerce and personal dealings. The infamous South Sea bubble of the 18th century saw investors ruined by deceit and speculative mania. Imagine that fear. Equity's principles would have acted as a shield protecting honest investors from the fallout of such fraudulent schemes. The statute of frauds, enacted in 1677, serves as a shield against deception in contractual agreements. It requires certain types of contracts to be in writing, preventing fraud and perjury. Imagine a knight who promises his lands in exchange for a dragon-slaying service, only to later deny the agreement. The statute of frauds would demand written proof of such contract, protecting both parties from the deceit or any potential deceit that could occur. Take the case of Sir Promiser, who verbally agreed to sell his castle to Lord Buyer. When Sir Promiser reneged, Lord Buyer, lacking written evidence, found himself in a bind. The statute of frauds ensures that contracts involving significant matters are documented, safeguarding against the perils of verbal agreements and ensuring clarity and enforceability. There are exceptions to that rule, however. If you have information that is, in stipulated, or you are able to make a record, you can change the record of whatever is stipulated, but that's knowing equity really well, knowing how to create a record. As Lord Denig observed, the statute of fraud was enacted to prevent fraud and perjury, and it ensured that agreements of significant importance aren't left to the vagaries of memory. The principle remains in cornerstone in contractual law, safeguarding the parties against deceiving and deception and ensuring the enforceability of significant agreements. So for a modern twist, you guys think of Wall-E and Eve making a deal to clean up Earth. Without a written contract, Wall-E might just end up collecting more trash than intended, while Eve jets off to space. The statute of frauds ensure they both stick to their agreement, keeping the planet and their partnership tidy and clear. So historically, the statute of frauds has been instrumental in maintaining the integrity of property transactions. Its influence is seen in careful documentation requiring for real estate deals today, ensuring that all parties are on the same page, reducing the risk of fraudulent claims. I want to tell you something. I'm going to share something with you guys because this is super important. What has happened is there has been propaganda put out there that is pretty clear that, is telling people don't make these things. If you make a prenuptial agreement, then, you don't trust your partner or whatever. And that's all talk until you don't trust your partner. It's all talk until you don't trust your partner, because the moment you don't trust your partner, it's like, I wish I had that contract right now. And that's the only way you can really create trust, is you make an agreement. And when you have it in writing, there's no question, right? If it's dishonored, it's dishonored. There's no question as to whether it's dishonored or not. And somebody that's not willing to put it in writing is wanting to do some janky stuff. So you shouldn't be marrying anybody like that anyways. I'm not a counselor, and this is not legal advice. By the way, I forgot my Tito note. By the way, let's go retro back, and if you guys don't give me notice within the next 3 seconds, 2, 1, okay, time's up. So you guys waived your right to not take this back, nunc pro tunc, to the beginning of the meeting. So here it is.
The following program contains mature content and is the truth. No part herein is intended to be legal advice and is for entertainment purposes only. Audience discretion is advised.
Okay, well, audience discretion was advised for the last 40 minutes, and it will be advised for the next, till I'm done. Okay, so covenants are the sacred bonds of property law. Now, you guys have, where you live, you might have an HOA. You have codes, covenants, and restrictions, CCRs, right? That's what they call them. It's not Creedence Clearwater Revisited or Creedence Clearwater. No, it's not that, okay? CC&Rs is code, covenants, and restrictions, and that's what it's talking about. Covenants are sacred bonds of property law. So it's very meticulous stipulations that are in your property law contract that bind parties to certain obligations. And imagine a covenant as a solemn vow taken by knights promising to uphold certain duties. Except you're like, hey, I would like to volunteer for some useless stuff that just makes sure that I give stuff away. And they're like, hey, the dude abides, and they let you. So equity's role is to enforce covenants, ensuring that promises made are kept. However, if there isn't full disclosure, and we talk about that quite extensively, consider the case of Sir Vow, who covenanted with his neighbor to maintain a common wall. Not wall-e, just a common wall. When Sir Vow neglected his duty, equity stepped in, compelling him to uphold his promise. Covenants are the legal equivalent of a knight's honor, binding parties to their word, ensuring that property's obligations are met. That's why I tell you guys get into a vow with them with their oath. Make a covenant with them right before you begin anything. It doesn't, like, who cares whether their oath is good? You make a deal with them right now. You and I just talked about it. That you can't deny that when you make a deal with somebody like that. The wise words of Lord St. Leonard's echo here. Covenants bind the parties to their solemn promises, ensuring that obligations are met and justice prevails. This principle underpins the enforcement of covenants, ensuring that parties are held accountable to their commitments. So say what you mean and mean what you say. Like, that's all this is, guys and gals. That's all this is. It's just, really getting down to what is righteous. And, like, if you get tired of people not, saying what they mean and meaning what they say, then, then you need to move on to different people. Okay. And that is what it is. So, let me go back here real quick. Okay. So, imagine the inhabitants of Radiator Springs from Cars. Okay. And that's where, what was his name? Mater. That's what his name was, Mater. Okay, we're not going to talk about Mater, though. I don't know. I should have had a story about Mater, but maybe next time. Now, imagine the inhabitants of Radiator Springs from Cars agreeing to keep their town pristine. If Mater, the rusty tow truck, starts slacking on his duties, equity ensures that he fulfills his obligations, keeping the town charming for all those who pass through. It's not just about honoring the agreement, but maintaining the beauty and integrity of their shared home. Wow, imagine that, guys. I just said it, and imagine that. I just did it. How quick was that? Historically, covenants have played a critical role in shaping communities and neighborhoods. The restrictive covenants of 19th and 20th centuries, although sometimes used negatively, often aim to maintain the character and integrity of residential areas, ensuring harmony and orderly development. Now, I swear to you, I didn't know that part was there before I started talking to you about the CC&Rs, but it worked out well. While our journey is taken through medieval landscapes of trusts, contracts, and equity, it's important that we recognize that the enduring relevance of these principles in modern law. Equity continues to serve a beacon of fairness, guiding the legal profession in the pursuit of justice. In today's complex world, equity's principles are more crucial than ever. They ensure that the law evolves in society with society, adapting to new challenges, ensuring that justice prevails. As you all step into the legal arena and you discover and ask questions, remember that equity is your steadfast companion. It's ready to aid you in your quest for your justice. The words of Lord Neuberger resonate here. Equity's principles are timeless, guiding the law with a sense of fairness and justice. This sentiment underscores the enduring relevance of equity in modern legal practice, ensuring that justice remains at the heart of the law. Imagine the superheroes from The Incredibles navigating the legal challenges. Equity would ensure that their contracts, trusts, and agreements are held with fairness, keeping them free to save the day without getting tangled in legal webs. Historically, the evolution of equity has allowed the legal system to adapt and remain relevant, From the chancellors of medieval England to today's judges, the principles of equity have been the invisible hand ensuring that the law serves humanity, not the other way around. As we conclude this journey through the realms of trust, contracts, and equity, let's not forget the importance of humor in the legal profession. The law can be a daunting, serious endeavor, but a touch of humor can lighten even the heaviest of burdens. Imagine the legendary case of Smith versus Jones, where the dispute over a garden gnome escalated to the highest court. The judges, recognizing the absurdity, delivered their verdict with a wink and a nod, reminding us that even in the most serious matters, a bit of levity can go a long way. As Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, the life of the law has not been logic, it has been experience. And I might add, a good sense of humor. For in the pursuit of justice, a laugh can be just as powerful as a learned treatise. Consider the famous anecdote of a judge who, faced with a particularly convoluted and verbose contract, remarked, "If the parties have sought to make it impossible to understand their goal, his lightheartedness did not undermine his duty." Remember that your knights of modern justice, armed with the principles of equity, trust, and contracts. Your quest is to uphold the noble ideals, ensuring that justice prevails in all your endeavors. And as you navigate in the legal labyrinth, don't forget, carry a sense of humor, for it's both the shield and the sword and the word of law. And may your journey be filled with wisdom, fairness, and just a dash of medieval flair. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you. And I don't see any questions. So, Angela, much gratitude to you. Killers of the Flower Moon is a really great book. That is going to give you a really good idea of how the model is, how they've been doing this. It's just a really good exemplary of, and the book is much better than the movie. Like way better than the movie, because you don't hear the, you can't feel the energy that you can in the book. The movie just doesn't have it. But that's the same, just speaking on this briefly, it's the same relationship that and I'm going to show you guys some more stuff because I just found some more things very recently from a guy that used to teach history. Gave me a bunch of information. So what he teaches is he goes back and shows that again, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but the people were told by the United States to basically that they could have free land if they went west of the Mississippi River. And they're settling west of the Mississippi River when they go far. The further they went, the better the United States liked that. Because the further they went, if they didn't die, then that meant that it was safe between where they were and where the people were. So they could go inhabit that land. And that's what they kept doing. They kept sending people out, free land. And then they make it like $30,000 for a whole homestead. And they were giving 40-acre parcels away and all this stuff, guys. Like, seriously, this is what happened. When you unveil all the when you peel all this history back, you start seeing just these cowards who hide behind titles. And I'm not trying to be insulting, but I don't know how else to say it. There are people that are not being honorable. They're not coming with clean hands. And when we realize, like, when you see exactly what's happening and how this is happening, you guys will realize that not only is the power in your hands, because once you realize you have a pocketbook that you can just open up and delegate if you have it set up right. And it's not about money because there is none of that, but there is accounting that can be used to delegate that. Okay. And you can delegate accounting to go to things. People get done by giving accounting. Okay. That's what happens. People donate to charities, and then accounting helps these people. Okay. We say money. Well, they donated a bunch of money. No, they donated a bunch of accounting. Okay. They donated accounting. There was only accounting. When you guys realize that, then, you realize you just got to find out, okay, well, I know what I created in the public debt. You know what your bills are. If you guys have like a credit card that has a $500 a month payment, maybe your principal balance is 10 grand. I don't know. But there's $10,000. You have a $10,000 public debt, okay? That means there's 10 grand on the private side too. Where's the accounting for it? But that's what we got to start looking out for. We got to start looking out for those things. We got to start asking questions that show that we're accountable, that we have accountability, not going in and requesting benefits from somebody because we can't figure something out. I get it. If you guys got to do it, there's a way to do it, and you need to ask. You need to find out the answers to those questions before you do it. There is ways to do things, but you got to know, and that's just, it's part of this journey. I can't teach it all in 1 hour or in 51 minutes or whatever. But there's a lot of other things that come with this, and you guys will see that as you keep your records meticulous, the more people you notify about what you're doing in being honorable. Not that, hey, by the way, I'm na. That's not what this is, folks. That is not what this is. This is not about, gloating something in someone's face, because this is not about anything in anyone's face. This is about, oh my goodness, I did something that I shouldn't have done and I need to fix it. That's what this is about. We got to fix what we did. And if we just take that attitude, like, I'm here to take care of business and nothing else, you'll be fine. You're not gonna have any worries. You'll be complacent with exactly where you are throughout this journey, because it's like having a partner and not telling them the truth, or having somebody and not telling them the full truth. Or maybe you just gave somebody part of the truth and you feel bad about not telling them everything. It's kind of the same thing. It's about coming with clean hands. And under some circumstances, yes. But what we have to do is erase the way that this corporation has taught us to deal with business. Because the way they've taught us with business is to do business in their commerce, which is cutthroat, so that they get money all the time. And our interests are not someone else's. So when we realize this, we go and make those changes. And that's what a trust is, because you're trusting that these things are going to be executed the way that your wishes were, as a grantor of whatever you're entrusting in whoever, for whoever's benefit. It just is what it is. Everything you're doing is trust. You go down to a restaurant, you go through a drive-through. Don't you trust that somebody's not going to put something in your food when you go through there? That's trust. That's like really a lot of trust. Like, because I've seen some of the stuff that they've done in some of those commercials and stuff. But you know what I mean? It's like we're trusting people all the time. And we've got to keep that in mind, that this is always a trust. But if you don't speak up on certain things, then you're waiving other things. And that's where we've got to come to reality on, wait a second, what stuff what am I needing to give, like, everything, a full, just, what do I need? Who do I need to ask? Like, do I owe you something? Is there some way that I've wronged you? When you ask and no one says anything, you're off the hook, man. But the thing to do is, in honor, you got to ask. This company teaches everybody, you know what? Cutthroat. You're on your own. They teach you to just basically cut people's throats. You guys, if you want to study an expert at cutthroat, go look at Donald J. Trump. He's an expert. That's what he does. He is an expert at bankruptcy. And so he goes and creates all of this, creates the debt part, and then goes and probates the whole thing and just zeroes it out and starts over. But what he does is, when he does that, he goes and creates it, he conveys it all over into trust, and then dissolves the corporation, and the trust has the assets, and the corporation goes bankrupt, and then you just start over another one. That's just, all it's doing is creating future generations of money for, but it gets a whole bunch of people rich along the way, and that's why they love Trump. That's why he's doing what he's doing. I don't vote, guys. You shouldn't either. My status is a private civilian. I am not under military jurisdiction. I was born under a military jurisdiction because my father was in the military because he made a contract. He actually went in and signed a contract and said, I want to be a part of your company. And because I was born and he was a member, that automatically made me a member. Automatically. That's just the way it works. It's just the way it falls. And I'm not blaming anybody. It's nobody's fault. It's my fault because I didn't learn it before I turned 18. That's my fault. And I kept creating more accounting. And so I've got things to fix like everyone else. You know, we're all working on our own things, but I'm telling you, like, this is the only way that you're going to find any sort of remedy. People that are trying to take these issues and take them into court are not going to find it because it's only in law, and no one knows how to work in equity, which is, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I'm grateful, but it took me going every other facet of losing in every other realm before I got to where I was. And that's where I am today. I am at a point where, like, I understand this system. I comprehend it. I am digging into the things that just hold my curiosity. I don't need to know anymore, but they hold my curiosity because, well, I always wondered how certain things of this machine worked. And so I'm getting an opportunity now to delve into that. And, you know, I'll be bringing that out. I'll be showing what I can. I think that everybody deserves the opportunity to have a choice to see whether they are capable of handling their own affairs or not. It's not, I don't think it's our, like, it's not my place to say, well, I mean, okay, so let me just say this. If somebody makes an appointment with me 2 or 3 times and misses that appointment, all of them, then you're not ready. Okay. You guys need to be prepared, to take responsibility. You can't be flighty. You can't be like, you know, like, yeah, I'm ready today. And, oh no, I got this stuff I got to do tomorrow. And yeah, that's not going to work. And no, if you're not at that point, then just sit back and listen and learn. Because if you're not there, you're not ready to dive in and really be serious about where you're going with, you know, everything, then you're not ready. It just is what it is. I can't make anybody be ready, but, you know, I've had people, I just had somebody recently tell me for over a year, they were ready. And then they went and, you know, they did dishonorable things. So, you know, anybody can say they're ready, but your actions speak as loud, if not louder, than your words that you're speaking. I can hear it all. But when I see you do something that says just the opposite of what you say, then it questions, and that creates distrust. So you guys don't want that. You don't want the company doing it to you, so don't do it to other people. Just what you got to remember, this is like, it's just honor. It's like, do unto others, treat people the way you want to be treated back. If you want like gourmet service, if you want to get caviar dinners, then you better be serving people up caviar stuff, okay? Don't go and bring people like scribble and say, well, where's my goods? Like, I expected something a lot better than this. No, you get what you give, and you're going to get return energy in anything that you do. So, you guys, I am pooped, and it's getting hot in my house because in the afternoon, like, it's been beautiful all day. I haven't had to open or close the windows, but in the afternoon, it's been getting really cool or really warm. And I say really warm, I'm talking, yeah, I know everybody's going to go, oh my goodness. It got up to like 80 today. So I have to turn the air on for just a little while, and the dog is going to be bothering me, ready to go for a walk. So you guys, I want you to have an amazing day. I appreciate you very much. You guys, I will see you again tomorrow, and I will be putting together some more amazing stuff for class. So have an amazing day, guys. And with that, I yield.